What does Carl Jung say about the transformational journey of individuation? Introduction. Unveil the power within the transformational journey of individuation. Are you ready to discover the most powerful version of yourself? Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, offers a transformative path that can lead you to the true essence of who you are. The journey of individuation, as Jung describes it, is not just about understanding yourself on a deeper level. It's about becoming your authentic self, integrating both the light and dark sides of your personality to unlock your full potential. Individuation is more than a psychological concept. It's a lifelong process of self-discovery that can change your life in profound ways. As we navigate the complexities of our emotions, beliefs, and behaviors, Jung's teachings offer us a powerful guide to navigate the unconscious, heal from past wounds, and embrace our true identity. But what exactly does it mean to embark on this journey? And why is it crucial to your personal growth? Jung believed that to truly evolve, we must face our shadows, confront our inner conflicts, and integrate every aspect of who we are. This process is transformative and can lead to a life filled with deeper purpose, peace, and clarity. In this exploration of Jung's concept of individuation, you'll uncover the secrets to unlocking your highest self, learn how to embrace your imperfections, and find out how embracing your unconscious mind can lead you to greater empowerment. Individuation is not just a psychological journey, it's the key to living a fulfilled life, and it starts with you. Stay with me as we dive into the life-changing journey of individuation and unlock the hidden potential that has always been waiting inside you. What does Carl Jung say about the transformational journey of individuation? Individuation is a concept at the very heart of Carl Jung's philosophy. It represents a transformational journey, one that every individual must undertake to become their true self. But what does this really mean? To understand Jung's take on individuation, we first need to delve into his core ideas about the psyche. Jung saw individuation as the reconciliation of these opposites within the self. The process is not about eliminating one part to favor another, but about reconciling them, creating balance. It's about the union of the conscious and unconscious mind, the realization that the self is multifaceted, and only through embracing every aspect of our being can we achieve true transformation. The individuation process is therefore not just about psychological integration. It's about embracing the sacred and the transcendent within us. As we move through this journey, we connect with the greater spiritual forces of the universe, finding peace and purpose in our lives. Individuation is not just the discovery of the self, but the discovery of our connection to something far greater than the individual ego. Individuation and the struggle for authenticity, perhaps the most profound aspect of individuation is the struggle for authenticity. As we journey towards self-realization, we are confronted with the challenge of living authentically, of letting go of the roles, masks, and personas we have constructed in order to fit in or gain approval. This requires a radical honesty with ourselves, a willingness to strip away the layers of societal conditioning, and to embrace the person we were always meant to be. Individuation is ultimately about authenticity, living in alignment with our true nature, rather than the expectations or demands placed on us by others. It's about living life on our own terms, guided by the deep wisdom of the unconscious and the integrated self. As we begin to let go of external validation and embrace our own truth, we experience a profound sense of freedom and empowerment. The final stages of individuation, becoming whole. The process of individuation does not have a clear endpoint. It is a lifelong journey that requires continuous growth, adaptation, and integration. The ultimate goal of individuation is to become whole, to integrate all parts of the self, the light and the dark, the conscious and the unconscious, the masculine and the feminine, and to live authentically in alignment with our deeper truth. Jung believed that through this journey we come to realize that we are not merely separate, isolated individuals, but part of a greater collective whole. By embracing the totality of who we are, we align ourselves with the deeper forces of the universe and our place within it. Individuation then is about becoming one with the universe, living from a place of authentic power and connectedness. The journey toward the self is never complete, for we are always evolving. But by embracing the process of individuation with all its challenges, contradictions, and struggles, we unlock the full potential of who we are. We become whole, and in doing so, we become unstoppable. Carl Jung saw a concept of individuation as a lifelong transformative journey toward wholeness and self-realization. It is a path that requires courage, self-reflection, and a willingness to confront the dark and unseen parts of our psyche. Jung believed that individuation was the key to understanding who we truly are, beyond the masks we wear and the societal roles we adopt. Through this journey, we integrate all aspects of the self, bringing our unconscious fears, desires, and potential into conscious awareness, allowing us to live authentically and with purpose. The individuation process is not merely a psychological exercise. It is a spiritual awakening that helps us connect to a deeper sense of self. It enables us to live in harmony with our true essence, leading to a life that is more aligned with our inner truths. As we progress in our individuation, we discover that the challenges we face are not obstacles, but catalysts for transformation. They push us to confront our shadows, embrace our contradictions, and ultimately realize our fullest potential. Jung's work encourages us to stop seeing ourselves as separate, limited beings, and instead understand that we are whole, integrated beings with the capacity to achieve profound personal and spiritual growth. The path of individuation is a journey towards self-empowerment where we reclaim control over our own lives and start making choices that reflect our authentic selves. Ultimately, individuation is about liberation. Liberation from the societal constraints, self-doubt, and limiting beliefs that hold us back from realizing who we truly are. It's a call to embrace the paradoxes of our nature, integrate the light and shadow, and become the person we were always meant to be. Why individuation is essential for personal growth. In today's world, many people feel disconnected, lost, or unfulfilled because they haven't gone through the individuation process. They may feel as though they are living for others or adhering to societal expectations rather than following their own inner calling. By embracing individuation, we can break free from this cycle and start living authentically. The journey of individuation teaches us that true happiness and success are not achieved through external validation, but through self-awareness, self-acceptance, and inner peace. When we confront our shadows, embrace our unique potential, and work toward integrating the unconscious aspects of ourselves, we unlock the power to live the life we've always dreamed of. Individuation allows us to achieve a balanced and harmonious existence where we understand our deeper motivations, desires, and goals. In his later works, Jung also emphasized that individuation is a spiritual journey. The path towards self-realization is not merely psychological, but deeply spiritual as well. To become our true selves, we must connect with something greater than our individual ego. Jung referred to this higher state of self as the self, the unified whole that encompasses all aspects of our being. Individuation, a lifelong journey toward personal fulfillment. The journey of individuation is not a quick fix, and it is certainly not easy. It is a lifelong process that requires ongoing reflection, adjustment, and growth. However, it is through this continuous process of becoming that we find true fulfillment. Jung's idea of individuation calls us to continually grow, adapt, and integrate new parts of ourselves. As we move through this journey, we begin to experience more inner peace, clarity, and purpose. We no longer feel as though we are being pulled in different directions by external forces. Instead, we begin to align our actions with our authentic desires. This alignment leads to a profound sense of inner power and freedom that propels us toward a life of meaning and purpose. Embrace your true self today. If you are ready to take the first step on the path of individuation, it begins with self-awareness. Take time to reflect on your own life, your unconscious beliefs, and the parts of yourself you have rejected or ignored. Confront your shadow, embrace your vulnerabilities, and listen to the wisdom of your unconscious. Start integrating these aspects of yourself to discover your true potential. Individuation is the ultimate journey toward personal transformation. It empowers you to become the best version of yourself, to live a life that reflects your deepest truths, and to embrace the full spectrum of who you are. By committing to this journey, you are not only creating a more authentic life for yourself, you are also contributing to the greater whole of humanity. Are you ready to begin your own individuation process? Embrace the journey and unlock your fullest potential today. The journey towards this self is often accompanied by a deep sense of spiritual awakening. For Jung, the process of individuation was not just a matter of psychological health, but of spiritual enlightenment. It is a path of integrating all aspects of the self, our fears, desires, strengths, weaknesses, and everything in between into a whole that connects us with the deeper universal forces of life. By following the path of individuation, we tap into a power that lies beyond the ego, beyond the persona we show to the world. This connection to the greater self brings peace, purpose, and a deeper understanding of our place in the world. As we move through the individuation process, we are also called to integrate the wisdom of life's challenges. Life will never be without its difficulties. In fact, Jung believed that adversity was one of the most significant catalysts for transformation. Without the challenges we face, we wouldn't be forced to confront the parts of ourselves that need healing and growth. The struggles we face often become the keys to self-discovery. These moments of hardship and pain are not obstacles. They are invitations to dig deeper, to search within, and to integrate the lessons that can propel us forward. Without the darkness, there is no light. Without conflict, there is no resolution. These difficult moments shape who we are and help us realize our true potential. Through all of this, Jung's vision of individuation is clear. It is a lifelong journey, a journey of continuous self-discovery and transformation. The path is not linear. It is a constant ebb and flow between the conscious and unconscious, between the shadow and the light, between the known and the unknown. It requires courage, patience, and a deep willingness to face what lies within. But the reward is immense. Through individuation, we discover the power within us to create our own destiny, to live authentically, and to connect with a deeper sense of purpose. We realize that true success and fulfillment come not from external achievements, but from embracing who we truly are and living in alignment with our deepest truths. Individuation, in the end, is the unfolding of the self, the realization that we are more than the sum of our parts. It is a journey that leads us to the realization that we are whole, that we are complete, and that everything we need to succeed and thrive lies within us. Through this journey, we become unstoppable. Individuation is a process that demands more than just intellectual understanding. It requires action, self-examination, and inner work. As we begin the journey of individuation, we are tasked with exploring the parts of ourselves that we've long ignored or repressed. To embark on this path is to enter a deep and transformative inner world, one that can be uncomfortable, challenging, and yet ultimately rewarding. Jung recognized that personal growth doesn't happen in the absence of struggle. It is precisely through struggle that we gain the strength to evolve. In many ways, individuation is like alchemy, a process of transmuting the base metals of our personality into the gold of self-realization. This inner alchemy is about taking the raw, unrefined parts of ourselves and gradually refining them through conscious work. Just as an alchemist transforms lead into gold, we can transform our flaws, limitations, and repressed emotions into wisdom, clarity, and power. The challenge, however, is that this transformation requires us to become aware of what lies hidden within us, the parts that make us uncomfortable, the parts we often overlook or deny. At its essence, individuation is the process of integrating the conscious and unconscious parts of the psyche, forging a wholeness that allows the individual to realize their fullest potential. It is the journey of becoming whole, of embracing every part of the self, both light and shadow, without rejection or denial. One of the most powerful tools Jung provided for this process is his concept of the ego. The ego, in Jungian terms, is not inherently bad. It is the conscious self, the persona we project to the world, and the framework by which we understand our existence. But the ego, according to Jung, can also become a prison. When we overly identify with the ego, we become disconnected from the deeper unconscious parts of our psyche. We begin to rely too heavily on the persona we've created, and we neglect the parts of ourselves that are vital to our growth. Individuation requires that we loosen our attachment to the ego, that we break free from the confines of the false self we've built, and allow ourselves to reconnect with the greater self. This does not mean rejecting the ego entirely. It means learning to integrate it with the unconscious, allowing for a more balanced and whole expression of our being. As we embark on this process, the ego becomes a servant, not a master, guiding us but not limiting us. Individuation is a journey of realigning the ego with the deeper, more authentic forces of the unconscious. Jung also spoke of the inner dialogue that must occur between the conscious and unconscious mind. As we begin to work with the unconscious through dream analysis, introspection, or other techniques, we begin to understand that the unconscious is not merely a dark, chaotic force. Instead, it is a reservoir of wisdom, rich with symbols, myths, and archetypes that can guide us on our journey. But the process of engaging with the unconscious requires patience and openness. The unconscious communicates with us through dreams, visions, and symbols. To access its wisdom, we must learn to interpret these symbols, to understand the messages they convey, and to integrate them into our conscious lives. Throughout the individuation process, Jung emphasized that learning to listen to the unconscious is a skill that takes time to develop. In many ways, it's a process of building trust with the parts of ourselves that we may have neglected or rejected. The unconscious is vast, and it has its own language, one that we must learn to interpret with care and attentiveness. But as we do, we begin to recognize patterns and connections that help us understand who we are and where we need to go. The unconscious is not just a realm of fantasy or irrationality. It is in fact a source of profound wisdom that holds the key to understanding our deepest desires, fears, and truths. As we grow in our understanding of the unconscious, we also begin to realize that individuation is a dynamic process. It's not something that happens once and for all. Rather, it's an ongoing journey of growth and change. Individuation requires continual learning, continual self-reflection, and continual integration of new aspects of the self. As we evolve, we encounter new challenges and new facets of our personality that need to be addressed. In Jungian terms, individuation is the lifelong process of becoming more fully oneself. It's not about perfection or achieving a final state of enlightenment. Rather, it's about the constant unfolding of the self, a continuous journey toward becoming more conscious of the totality of who we are. And this unfolding requires that we accept that we will always be in the process of becoming, always evolving, and always integrating new aspects of ourselves. One of the most liberating aspects of individuation is that it is not a linear process. It is not a matter of following a set path or achieving a predetermined goal. Individuation is uniquely personal, and each individual's journey is different. It is about discovery, exploration, and finding your own way, not about conforming to someone else's vision of success or wholeness. It's about learning to live authentically in alignment with your deepest truths and embracing the complexities and contradictions that make you who you are. Jung's philosophy encourages us to embrace the paradoxes of our existence. Individuation doesn't mean we become one-dimensional perfect beings free from flaws or challenges. Rather, it means we learn to live with our contradictions, to accept the complexity of the human experience, and to integrate both the light and dark parts of ourselves. The more we integrate these aspects, the more whole and authentic we become. As we continue on the journey of individuation, we must also recognize that life itself serves as a mirror for our inner world. Jung saw the world around us as deeply interconnected with our inner psychological landscape. What happens externally often reflects what is happening internally. If we are disconnected from our true selves, this disconnection will be reflected in our relationships, careers, and overall sense of purpose. The world then becomes an essential part of our individuation journey. As we work to become more integrated, we begin to see how our outer reality shifts and changes in response to our inner growth. We become active participants in shaping our reality, guided by the wisdom of the unconscious and the integration of all parts of the self. Jung believed that as humans, we are born into the world as fragments of our true selves. The societal influences, family conditioning, and personal experiences we go through contribute to shaping a version of ourselves that might not fully align with our authentic essence. Therefore, individuation is the lifelong process of peeling away these external influences, confronting the shadows within us, and embracing the unknown parts of our psyche. In Jung's view, the ultimate goal of individuation is to realize the self, the total integrated and whole expression of who we truly are. The self is not just the sum of our conscious mind or the ego, but the totality of our being. Our conscious thoughts, our unconscious patterns, and the deep wisdom that resides within us. When we realize the self, we experience a sense of inner peace, a deep connection to both the inner and outer worlds, and a profound sense of purpose. Individuation, then, is not about achieving external success or validation. It's about discovering the unseen parts of ourselves, integrating them, and living a life that is authentic, whole, and true. It is a journey of continuous growth and transformation, one that brings us closer to who we truly are, and in doing so helps us create a life of meaning and fulfillment. The individuation process is a lifelong endeavor. There will be times of darkness when the road seems uncertain and the challenges feel insurmountable. But it is in these moments of struggle that we often experience the greatest growth. For Jung, it is the tension between the conscious and unconscious mind that propels us toward deeper self-awareness. The path of individuation requires courage, resilience, and an unflinching willingness to face the unknown. It is through this continuous journey of growth, transformation, and integration that we ultimately come to know our true selves. As we move further into the individuation process, it's important to recognize that individuation is not something that can be forced or hurried. It is a natural process unfolding at its own pace and can only occur when we are truly ready to face the deeper aspects of ourselves. The more we resist this inner transformation, the more difficult the journey will become. But when we embrace the process and allow ourselves to be vulnerable to learn and grow from our challenges, we create space for transformation to occur. This willingness to surrender to the journey, to trust the process, is an essential part of individuation. Jung often spoke about the importance of accepting the unknown. We cannot force the unconscious to reveal itself before its time. Instead, we must develop patience and trust that our inner self will reveal what we need to know when we are ready to handle it. Individuation is a process of becoming comfortable with uncertainty and learning to flow with the natural unfolding of the self. The path to individuation is a dynamic interplay between light and dark, known and unknown. It involves periods of clarity and confusion, moments of revelation, followed by times of doubt. But it is in the tension between these opposites that true growth occurs. Just as the hero's journey cannot be completed without facing obstacles, the process of individuation requires that we face the discomfort and tension of internal conflict. It is through these struggles that we ultimately become more conscious, more integrated, and more fully ourselves. One of the greatest gifts that individuation offers is the opportunity to reclaim your power. Jung believed that many people live their lives as though they are controlled by external forces, society, family culture, and even the expectations they place on themselves. However, individuation challenges this worldview. It calls us to step into our personal power by recognizing the ways in which we have been controlled by external influences and to take responsibility for creating our own reality. The process of individuation asks us to reclaim authority over our own lives and to recognize that we are not passive recipients of our circumstances. Rather, we are active participants in shaping our futures. This realization can be both empowering and terrifying. For once we acknowledge our personal power, we are also forced to acknowledge our responsibility in how we live our lives. Individuation is a call to personal accountability, to stop living on autopilot, and to consciously create the life we desire. As we reclaim our power, we also become more compassionate and connected to others. Jung believed that individuation was not only a journey of self-realization, but also one of deepening our connection with the world around us. As we integrate the different aspects of our psyche, we become more empathetic, more attuned to the struggles and triumphs of others. We begin to recognize that the journey toward wholeness is universal, and that we are all on this path together despite our individual differences. Individuation encourages us to accept our shared humanity. It invites us to let go of the divisions and separations we place between ourselves and others, recognizing that we all have our shadows, our light, our contradictions, and our potential. As we grow in our own understanding, we develop a deeper compassion for the journey of others. Individuation is not a path toward perfection. It's not about becoming flawless or meeting some societal standard of success. Rather, it's a journey of self-discovery and acceptance. Jung taught that to become whole, we must embrace our shadow, the darker, often hidden parts of our psyche that we try to repress or ignore. These parts often contain the raw potential and the true essence of who we are, but only by acknowledging them can we unlock the power to transform ourselves. This increased compassion and understanding lead to greater empathy and connection. Jung believed that the more we integrate the opposing forces within ourselves, the more we can relate to and understand the opposing forces in others. This integration helps break down barriers and opens the door to authentic relationships. Individuation is not just about personal growth. It's about learning to connect with others on a deeper, more meaningful level based on our shared experiences of growth and transformation. The individuation process is not always comfortable. As we face our shadows and integrate the unconscious parts of ourselves, we may encounter moments of deep emotional pain. Jung believed that confronting our fears, our insecurities, and our darkest desires is a necessary part of the journey, but it is not without its challenges. At times, the process can feel overwhelming, and we may question whether we are truly making progress. But Jung also emphasized that the greatest growth comes from moments of discomfort. It is through the trials and tribulations of life that we learn the most about ourselves. The difficult times are not roadblocks, they are opportunities for transformation. When we face our darkest fears, when we confront the parts of ourselves that we've tried to avoid, we create space for healing and growth. The shadow is not to be feared, but to be embraced. The more we confront our internal struggles, the more we integrate the lessons they offer. At the heart of individuation is the realization that the process is not about becoming someone else, but about becoming the person you were always meant to be. It is a journey of uncovering the truth of who you are, of peeling back the layers of conditioning, and of reconnecting with the essence of your being. Individuation is about coming home to yourself. It's about shedding the false selves you've created, the roles you've played, and the personas you've adopted, and stepping into the light of your true identity. This journey requires patience and perseverance. It is not a quick fix or a formula for success. It is a lifelong process of self-discovery. But the rewards are profound. As you move deeper into the process of individuation, you begin to experience a sense of peace, an inner confidence, and a connection to your true self that cannot be replicated by any external achievement. You realize that success is not about attaining material possessions or societal validation. Success is about becoming who you truly are fully and unapologetically. As you progress on your path toward individuation, you will come to understand that the journey itself is the destination. There is no end to the process. Rather, it is a continuing unfolding of your authentic self. You will never fully arrive because individuation is not a final state, but a continual journey of growth and transformation. The beauty of this process is that it never stops. It is an endless evolution toward greater self-awareness, deeper integration, and more profound authenticity. In the end, the journey of individuation is about living in alignment with your deepest truths. It is about shedding the layers of conditioning that have held you back and stepping into the light of your true potential. Individuation is the journey of becoming whole, of integrating all parts of yourself, your light, your dark, your conscious, your unconscious, and embracing the totality of who you are. It is the journey of becoming unstoppable. With this, the process of individuation comes full circle. From the confrontation with the shadow to the integration of the self, the individuation journey ultimately leads to a greater sense of freedom and authenticity. By embracing the complexities and contradictions of who we are, we unlock our true potential. As Jung so profoundly put it, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Individuation is your privilege, your calling, your transformation. The path of individuation is not only about self-discovery and transformation, but also about embracing the flow of life. Jung believed that life with all its ups and downs is a continuous process of integration. The experiences we face, both positive and negative, are never random. They are opportunities for growth. Our deepest struggles often contain the seeds of our greatest strength. The process of individuation requires that we accept life's challenges as part of our personal journey. This means that the things we encounter along the way, the heartbreaks, the failures, the moments of despair are not setbacks, but catalysts for change. They are opportunities to learn more about who we truly are. Jung often spoke about the importance of accepting suffering as part of the individuation process. While it's natural to avoid pain, it is through suffering that we often find our deepest insights. The shadow is a critical element of individuation. It represents the unconscious aspects of our personality that we reject often because they don't align with the image we wish to project. But Jung taught us that in rejecting these parts of ourselves, we limit our potential. It's only when we face our shadow, our repressed anger, our fears, our desires, that we begin to realize our full potential. Through this confrontation, we start to dissolve the barriers between the conscious and unconscious minds, allowing us to move toward a state of balance. This integration of the shadow is the first step on the path to individuation. Pain and struggle are inevitable parts of life. However, how we respond to them determines whether we grow or stagnate. If we reject the challenges life presents, we risk becoming fragmented, stuck in patterns of avoidance, denial, and escape. But if we embrace the struggle, confront the pain head-on, and see it as part of the greater process of becoming whole, we unlock the potential for transformation. Individuation, therefore, is not a journey of avoidance. It is a journey of confrontation, confronting the external world, and more importantly, confronting the inner forces within us. In this sense, the individuation process is a continuous dialogue with the unconscious. The unconscious is not a dark, mysterious force to be feared, but a source of infinite wisdom. As we begin to integrate more of our unconscious material, we start to access a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. This understanding goes beyond intellectual knowledge. It is a form of intuitive knowing, a connection to something greater than the ego. Jung believed that the unconscious was not just a place of repressed memories or emotions, but a wellspring of creativity and potential. The more we delve into our unconscious mind, the more we discover our inner resources, untapped potential, suppressed desires, and latent gifts. As we engage with the unconscious, we begin to develop a new perspective on life, one that is not limited by the constraints of the ego. This process allows us to move beyond the narrow confines of the individual self and connect with the broader human experience. The role of the self in individuation. At the heart of individuation is the concept of the self. Jung saw the self as the central archetype, the integration of the conscious and unconscious parts of the psyche. Unlike the ego, which is a limited surface-level expression of the self is the totality of our being. It represents the harmonious balance of our inner world. The self is not something we create. It is something we discover by aligning with the deepest aspects of ourselves. Jung described the self as a unifying force that brings together all aspects of the psyche. It represents the wholeness we seek and the ultimate goal of individuation. The journey toward the self is not about becoming someone different. It is about becoming the person you were always meant to be. It is the process of realizing your authentic self, shedding the layers of false identities, and embracing your true essence. The self is not a fixed entity. It is an ongoing process of becoming. It is a dynamic force that evolves as we move through life, constantly integrating new experiences, insights, and growth. Jung believed that when we become aligned with the self, we experience a profound sense of inner peace and authenticity. We stop trying to be someone we're not, and instead we become who we truly are. Individuation in the creative process. Creativity plays a significant role in the individuation journey. Jung believed that creativity is an essential aspect of the unconscious, and that through creative expression we can bring the unconscious into the conscious realm. Creativity becomes a tool for self-expression, allowing us to channel the deeper energies of the psyche into tangible forms, such as art, writing, music, or any other form of creation. For Jung, creativity is the bridge between the conscious and unconscious mind. It is through creative expression that we access the deeper layers of our psyche, bringing unconscious material into the light. When we create, we are not just producing art or work, we are transforming ourselves. Creative expression becomes a tool for individuation, helping us integrate the unconscious with the conscious mind and express the totality of who we are. The impact of relationships on individuation. While individuation is primarily an inner journey, it is not an isolated one. The process of becoming whole is deeply influenced by the relationships we have with others. Jung believed that relationships are mirrors that reflect the aspects of ourselves that we need to confront. Whether through our interactions with family, friends, or romantic partners, others act as instruments of transformation, helping us understand the parts of ourselves that are hidden, repressed, or unresolved. In healthy relationships, we are often confronted with our own shadow aspects. Others hold up a mirror reflecting the parts of ourselves we don't want to see, our weaknesses, our fears, and our unresolved emotional wounds. These reflections are not to be feared. They are opportunities for growth. By learning from our relationships, we integrate the unconscious material that we may otherwise ignore. The journey of individuation also involves archetypes, universal symbols, and energies that reside within the collective unconscious. Archetypes are ingrained patterns of behavior and thought that transcend individual experiences and are shared across humanity. Jung identified several key archetypes that guide us on our path to self-realization, including the hero, the anima/animus, and the wise old man. Jung believed that the integration of the anima and animus, the unconscious feminine and masculine aspects of the psyche, was often facilitated by relationships. These relationships not only help us grow emotionally, but they also help us balance the masculine and feminine forces within ourselves, leading to greater inner harmony. Individuation in society. One of the most challenging aspects of individuation is the tension between individuality and society. The world around us often imposes expectations, norms, and values that can restrict our ability to truly express ourselves. Society demands that we conform, that we fit into predetermined roles, and that we live up to certain standards of success. But individuation requires that we break free from these constraints. Jung believed that the individuation process involved the courage to question societal norms and to live authentically, even if it meant going against the grain. Individuation requires that we reject the false selves that society has imposed upon us and instead embrace our own unique path. This doesn't mean rejecting society altogether, but rather finding the balance between individuality and social responsibility. As we become more aligned with our true self, we can better contribute to society from a place of authenticity rather than out of obligation or fear of judgment. Final thoughts: the unstoppable journey. The journey of individuation is not an easy one. It is a lifelong process that requires patience, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to self-discovery. But it is also the most rewarding journey you can undertake. Through individuation, you come to know yourself on a deeper level, embrace your true essence, and live from a place of authenticity. The individuation process is a transformational journey that allows you to break free from the constraints of the ego, integrate the unconscious, and embrace the full spectrum of your being. It is not a journey toward perfection, but toward wholeness. And as you continue on this path, you begin to realize that the true self has always been there waiting to be discovered. In the end, individuation is the key to unlocking your fullest potential. It is the journey of becoming the person you were always meant to be, a journey that is uniquely yours, but shared by all who dare to walk the path of self-realization. Individuation is a lifelong process of becoming your true self, and the path is not simple. According to Carl Jung, individuation is a psychological journey that requires us to confront both the conscious and unconscious aspects of our psyche. It is the process of discovering who we truly are, beyond the identities we adopt to survive in society, beyond the roles we play for others. It's a journey toward wholeness, authenticity, and integration. However, this journey is not linear. Individuation demands that we grow through tension, struggle, and contradiction. As we develop, we encounter deep and often painful truths about ourselves, truths we may not want to confront. Yet Jung taught that the only way to achieve true wholeness is to accept all parts of ourselves, including those we'd rather keep hidden. The journey of individuation is not for the faint-hearted. It is for those who are willing to face the darkness and come out the other side stronger, more integrated, and truly free. The role of the shadow in individuation. In Jungian psychology, the shadow is one of the most important concepts to understand if we are to grasp the process of individuation. The shadow represents the repressed, hidden, or denied aspects of ourselves, parts of our personality that we don't like or are uncomfortable with. These are the qualities, tendencies, or impulses that we often try to suppress in order to fit societal norms or expectations. Jung argued that the shadow contains both negative and positive aspects. While it can hold repressed emotions like anger, jealousy, or fear, it can also be the repository of untapped potential. Our shadow holds the key to unlocking deeper aspects of ourselves, including creativity, power, and wisdom, that are often buried beneath layers of conditioning. To understand and integrate the shadow, we must first acknowledge its existence. Most people spend their lives avoiding or denying the shadow because it's uncomfortable to face the parts of themselves they would rather not confront. But Jung taught that by confronting the shadow, we can begin to reclaim the hidden energies that lie within us. These archetypes act as guides for our personal development. The hero, for example, represents the part of us that strives to overcome obstacles and transform through adversity. The hero's journey is marked by trials, challenges, and triumphs, but it cannot progress without encountering the shadow. Without facing these challenges, the hero cannot evolve. The shadow's integration isn't about getting rid of these negative parts of ourselves. It's about accepting them, learning from them, and using that newfound awareness to fuel personal growth. The more we confront our shadow, the more we become aware of the full spectrum of our personality, including the parts that were previously hidden from our conscious mind. Archetypes, universal patterns in the unconscious. Jung also emphasized the role of archetypes in the individuation process. Archetypes are universal symbols or patterns found within the collective unconscious. These archetypes are present in all humans across cultures and time periods, representing fundamental human experiences. For example, the hero, the mother, the wise old man, and the anima/animus are all archetypes that Jung identified as part of the human psyche. Each archetype carries with it a deep primal energy that influences our behavior and experience. The hero archetype, for example, embodies courage, resilience, and the drive to overcome obstacles. The anima, the unconscious feminine aspect in men, and the animus, the unconscious masculine aspect in women, represent the inner opposite energies that need to be integrated for true balance. The wise old man represents wisdom, experience, and insight. These archetypes are not mere representations of myth or fantasy. They are psychological patterns that shape how we view ourselves and the world around us. By recognizing and integrating these archetypes, we can better understand the forces at play within our psyche and how they guide our decisions, our actions, and our emotional responses. Individuation involves engaging with these archetypes, understanding how they operate in our lives, and learning to harness their energy to become more fully ourselves. For example, when a man confronts his anima, he begins to connect with his inner feminine qualities, such as intuition, empathy, and creativity. By integrating this energy, he can balance his masculinity with a deeper emotional and intuitive awareness. Similarly, when a woman integrates her animus, she develops greater assertiveness, logic, and rationality, which can help her assert her power in the world. Individuation then is about bringing balance to the masculine and feminine aspects within us to transcend duality and embrace the totality of our being. The self, the center of the psyche. At the core of the individuation process lies the self. Jung described the self as the central archetype, the total integrated and harmonious expression of the individual. It encompasses both the conscious and unconscious aspects of our being. The self is the destination of the individuation journey, and it is only when we integrate all parts of ourselves that we realize this unified whole self. While the ego represents the conscious identity, the self represents the deeper, more comprehensive version of who we are. The journey of individuation involves aligning the ego with the self so that the ego no longer dominates or restricts us. The ego is important, but it must serve the greater purpose of the self rather than dominate it. In Jung's framework, the self is a dynamic force, not a static goal. It evolves over time as we engage with the unconscious, integrate new insights, and continue to grow. The journey of individuation is not about perfection or achieving some final state of enlightenment. It is about becoming the fullest version of ourselves, continuously evolving, growing, and integrating all parts of our psyche. The process of integration of opposites. Another central concept in individuation is the integration of opposites. Jung believed that the psyche is inherently dual and that we must reconcile these opposites in order to achieve wholeness. This includes reconciling the light and dark aspects of our nature, the masculine and feminine, the conscious and unconscious. The goal of individuation is not to choose one over the other, but to embrace both sides. For example, we must learn to integrate the light and shadow aspects of our personality. The process involves coming to terms with our inner contradictions and learning to accept them as part of who we are. The more we integrate these opposing forces, the more we find a sense of inner balance and peace. Jung also introduced the concept of anima and animus, the unconscious feminine and masculine aspects that exist in every individual. The anima represents the feminine energy in men, while the animus is the masculine energy in women. Integrating these opposing energies is crucial to achieving balance and wholeness in the individuation process. Jung often emphasized that reconciliation with the unconscious is necessary for growth. When we stop fighting the aspects of ourselves that we view as undesirable, we create room for healing and transformation. Individuation requires that we stop rejecting the parts of ourselves that make us uncomfortable and instead learn to embrace them. By doing so, we transcend the duality that often confines us and move towards a state of wholeness and harmony. The spiritual dimension of individuation. Individuation is not just a psychological journey, it is also a spiritual journey. Jung's approach to individuation involved a deep exploration of the soul and the spiritual forces that shape our lives. He believed that the spiritual dimension of life is not separate from the psychological one, rather it is interwoven with it. The process of individuation invites us to connect with something greater than ourselves. It calls us to explore the mysteries of the unconscious, to confront the divine forces within, and to discover our true spiritual nature. For Jung, individuation was not just about psychological wholeness. It was also about achieving a deep sense of spiritual fulfillment. The self is in essence a spiritual center. The journey toward the self involves connecting with the sacred, the divine, and the transcendent. Jung believed that as we integrate the unconscious and bring the light of consciousness to it, we awaken to a greater spiritual reality. This allows us to align our lives with a deeper sense of purpose and meaning. Individuation is therefore not just about the self, it is about the self's connection to the greater whole, to the universe, and to the spiritual forces that guide us. The importance of creative expression. As we continue the journey of individuation, creative expression becomes an essential tool. Jung believed that creativity is not merely about producing art, it is a way to express the unconscious and bring deeper insights to light. Creative activities allow us to access parts of the psyche that are difficult to articulate through language or rational thought. Through creativity, we bridge the gap between the conscious and unconscious minds. Creativity allows us to externalize our internal world to express the raw, untapped potential within us. Whether through writing, painting, music, or other forms of art, creative expression becomes a means of individuation. It's a way of manifesting the unconscious and allowing the soul to speak. Conclusion: the ever-unfolding journey. Individuation is not a destination, it is a lifelong journey of self-discovery and integration. It is a process that demands courage, patience, and a willingness to face the unknown. The road may be long, but the rewards are immense. As we progress on our journey, we experience a profound sense of inner peace, authenticity, and connection with the greater universe. The transformation that individuation brings is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing process of becoming whole, of integrating every aspect of our psyche, of embracing both the light and the dark. Through this journey, we unlock our true potential, realize our deepest truths, and experience the ultimate liberation, becoming the person we were always meant to be. As we continue down the path of individuation, one of the key challenges we encounter is the relationship between the individual and the collective. Jung often spoke of the tension between individuality and the pressures of society, a tension that shapes much of the individuation process. Society often imposes a set of standards, norms, and expectations that we are expected to follow. These societal influences can shape the roles we take, on the identities we adopt, and the decisions we make. However, individuation is about breaking free from societal constraints, rejecting the roles imposed on us, and instead embracing our authentic self. Jung believed that as individuals, we often become caught between the external expectations of others and the internal demands of the self. This tension between the individual's desire for autonomy and the pressures of conformity can lead to inner conflict. The path to individuation involves balancing this tension, learning to stand firm in who we are without being entirely dictated by the pressures of society. Through individuation, we are called to embrace the integration of opposites. This idea of merging opposites is fundamental to Jung's philosophy. He believed that the psyche is composed of dualities, and only through reconciling these opposing forces, masculine and feminine, conscious and unconscious, light and dark, can we reach a harmonious wholeness. The inner conflict, confronting the inner critics. As we seek to align more fully with our true selves, we are often confronted with the inner critic. This critic is a part of the ego, the voice that constantly reminds us of our perceived inadequacies, our fears, and the ways we fail to meet societal expectations. It is the voice that tells us we are not good enough, that we don't deserve success, or that we are not worthy of happiness. The inner critic is a powerful force. It stems from repressed experiences, societal judgments, and our own self-doubt. But Jung argued that this critic is not something we can simply eliminate. It must be confronted and integrated as part of the individuation process. The inner critic reflects the tension between the ego and the deeper self, and only by facing it directly can we truly release its power over us. By understanding and integrating the voice of the inner critic, we learn to transcend the limitations it imposes. Instead of living in fear of failure or inadequacy, we embrace the truth of who we are, imperfections and all. The individuation process teaches us that our flaws are not obstacles, but parts of our humanity that contribute to our depth, strength, and growth. The power of synchronicity, embracing meaningful coincidences. Jung's concept of synchronicity offers another powerful tool in the individuation process. Synchronicity refers to the meaningful coincidences that occur in our lives, events that seem too perfect, too connected to be mere chance. Jung believed that these coincidences are not random, but reflect a deeper unconscious order that connects us to the greater whole. Jung urged us to pay attention to these moments. When we begin to notice synchronicities, we realize that we are not alone on this journey. The universe itself is conspiring to help us along the way. By embracing synchronicity, we acknowledge that there is a deeper spiritual dimension to the individuation process, one that is aligned with the flow of life. Individuation and the role of creativity. Creativity is central to the individuation process. As Jung noted, creativity is not just about making art, but about expressing the unconscious and bridging the gap between the conscious and unconscious mind. Jung often referred to creative expression as a means of integrating the unconscious as it allows us to externalize our inner world. By engaging in creative activities, whether through writing, painting, music, dance, or other forms of self-expression, we engage in a dialogue with the unconscious. This process allows us to access and bring forth hidden aspects of ourselves, the parts that may be too difficult to express in words or too difficult to face in our waking consciousness. Creativity allows us to tap into our authentic self by giving us the tools to communicate the deep truths within us. It is an act of self-liberation, a means of unlocking the unconscious and a way to integrate the many aspects of our being. Through creativity, we can transcend the limitations of the ego and express the richness and complexity of our psyche. The significance of spiritual growth in individuation. Jung viewed individuation as a deeply spiritual process, not just a psychological one. While the journey towards self-realization is fundamentally psychological, it is also spiritual in nature. The goal of individuation is to become more aligned with the self, which Jung viewed as both a psychological and spiritual center. Individuation is about connecting with something greater than ourselves. It is about finding meaning in life and aligning our lives with a higher purpose. Jung believed that the spiritual journey was essential to self-realization. Without it, we remain disconnected from the deeper parts of ourselves and from the universe.